I'm proud of it because it's so important, I think, like, as a society to be compassionate for one another, and at the end of the day, like, I just wanna be a good person, help others, like, have a positive impact on people's lives. Like, that is the thing that I would be, super proud of, and it'll get to my ideal compliment. And
All right. Well, today I am joined here by my good friend Kate Chilton. I know Kate from working together during our days back in Boston when we were both entering the consulting way of life. It was both of our first jobs out of college, and we became fast friends as we kind of joined in, like our cohort kind of joined in like an off-season kind of timing. So yeah, we became fast friends. And then we became long friends. So yeah, Kate joins me today from Salt Lake City, Utah.
it's great
Um,
to be here,
yeah,
virtually here.
yeah, yeah. Thanks
Virtually.
for making the time, Kate.
Yeah.
Yeah. But before we dive in deep, why don't you first just tell us a little bit about where you're at in life today?
Yeah, so I am 27 years old. I moved to Boston, or oh my God, I moved from Boston to Salt Lake City in July. It's amazing. I moved with my boyfriend. We're living together now. I'm currently unemployed, which is a big deal for me, having never been unemployed. I worked for Accenture for 5+ years and decided to take a leap of faith and join a startup. And that was an amazing experience, but the risk you take with joining startups is that many of them don't make it. And so we unfortunately ran through our funds and were unable to get more, so we had to wind down. So I am, by virtue of that, unemployed now. But while that sucks, I'm reframing it to be an opportunity. I'm using this time that I have to take a step back and focus on my health, focus on my relationships, make sure I have a center and a real understanding of what I want to be doing. I loved what I was doing, and I think I still want to do similar to what I was doing, but just using this as a time of reflection and gratitude, because the experience that I had gave me a lot. So I'm currently unemployed in Utah, shredding every other day.
Yes. Awesome. Well, I'll dive right into it. My message for you, and then we'll dive into the rest of the questions. Sound okay?
Sounds great.
Awesome. Well, Kate, I honor you for your sense of adventure. My appreciation for that has increased the longer I've known you. I think people can commonly think of being adventurous as being whimsical and spontaneous, but that is not the type of adventure I am recognizing today. As I have learned about your whole life across our friendship, I've been impressed by how you tread outside your comfort zone. Your move to college, your first job out of college to where you are now. I have seen and appreciate the sections of your story separated by big chunks of risk and vulnerability, the chapters in between of exploring new ways, of frankly, you trusting yourself, and the milestones that summarize how you learn to love yourself at the end of each section. Along your adventure, you've always welcomed setting aside time to reflect with me and entertaining some of the tough questions that I can always come up with. And for that, and just sitting with me in all these times, yeah, being in it and in our transitions. I honor you and I love you.
I love you. Thank you.
When you hear that, what do you think about? What comes to mind? And yeah, just share with us your reaction.
Yeah, so for those that don't know, I grew up in Los Angeles, moved out of state to go to college in Michigan. Then my first job was in Boston, and now I live in Utah. So I really have been all over the map, and I think a big part of that getting out of your comfort zone is living in new places, and that inherently brings new people with it. And I think the only way that I'm able to get through these moments or transitions in my life of getting out of my comfort zone is by surrounding myself with supportive people, not unlike yourself. And so, yeah, I love that you recognize that, because you're one of like the most important people from that transition from Michigan to Boston. And I couldn't have done it without you, and I don't think I would have enjoyed it without you and the other group of friends that we have. So I love that you said that. It means a lot.
Of course. When you hear the word adventurous, the specificity or the angle that I took with it, did that resonate with you?
Absolutely. I love thinking of myself as adventurous. I usually think of it in like the more, I guess, traditional way of thinking. Like I love to travel. I love to try new things, experience new things. But yeah, I think putting yourself out of your comfort zone, like distilling it to that is even more of like a broader way to think about it, because it's not just like what are you doing, it's who are you with, it's trying new things. And that's like a core tenet of how I live my life. This world is amazing and it has so much to offer, and I think like I have an innate sense of curiosity and sense of wanderlust, or whatever the phrase is.
Yeah,
So yeah.
right on. All right. Well, we're gonna peel a layer back, start to dig a little deeper here. And I feel like you were kind of alluding to them even a little bit. But yeah, this next question is, what are your top 3 core values?
Yes. So this one was probably the hardest of the questions, just because it's hard to distill to 3. So I have 3. They're very important to me. There's lots of others that are important as well, and maybe they'll be encapsulated in these 3. And they're not really in any particular order, but the first one that came to mind almost immediately was authenticity.
Mm,
Yeah, I think that it's so important for us to be ourselves, to be real, to be authentic and genuine is, um, it's part of opening yourself up to other people, to how you make connections with others by letting them, know who you are. And I think there's a little bit of vulnerability in that, but just being authentic, being your true self, and not having any shame for it, I think is extremely powerful. People gravitate towards people that are authentic and genuine. I think it's an amazing quality for anyone to have, or any company to have. Just staying true to who you are. I love that, and I try and live that way all the time. I'm don't really gel with people that are fake or that come off as fake. It's unappealing.
yeah.
So yeah, authenticity is one.
Yeah.
The second one, oh my God, I'm blanking. I should have written these down. Well, I can tell you the third one. The third one is love. That is like the ultimate one. Maybe that's my number one, even though I said it third or second now. But yeah, I think like the whole world, humanity, I think it's distilled to love. I think it is the most powerful thing. It's more powerful than fear, than anger. It is, one of the reasons that we're here on earth in my mind. My stepmom, shameless plug, created a belief system called the Axiom, and the spark notes is that everything is distilled to love or fear, and if you're doing something out of love, it can't ever be wrong. And yeah, it extends to the people you love, the things you love, family, friends, pets, nature. Like it's all encompassing. And a life without love is not a life worth living. So that is my second slash third. And oh my goodness, what was the last one? Oh, learning. The third one was learning, or the third one is learning. That is super important to me. I'm always looking to learn. I think it is like the epitome of growth, is learning. Again, I think it goes back to that curiosity piece of who I am, but there is so much that can be learned. There's so much knowledge out there from people that are wise, who have experienced things. And I think that, again, it's one of the main reasons that we're here on Earth, is to learn, and pass that knowledge on to future generations with the goal of becoming better over time. I think the entire reason that we fail is to learn and grow from that. So yeah, that's a huge part of my life and what I'm always trying to employ in everything that I do. And yeah.
What are your preferred sources of learning?
Preferred sources. Lately, I've been really into podcasts. I think it's a great way of like passive learning. Like I love listening to podcasts while I'm like walking on the treadmill or folding laundry or going grocery shopping. Like it's a great way to like multitask and like be learning while I'm doing mundane things. Yeah, I love reading biographies,
Yeah.
books, nonfiction books.
Yeah.
I love documentaries.
Nice.
Love
Yes, of
documentaries. Like
course.
huge fan of content, docudramas even, because they're based on real events.
Hmm.
Those are probably my favorite ways to like learn from like personal entertainment. I'm a
Yeah.
huge believer in like learning by doing. So work inherently is a huge source of learning for me, and it's one of the things that drives me in my day-to-day work is, am I learning
Yeah.
something new? Am I being challenged? So yeah, that's kind of like the professional answer as well
Sure.
as like the personal reasons or
Yeah.
ways.
Yeah. This interview is not going to get you a job, Kate. So sorry in advance.
Fuck.
Would be cool if it did, but I don't think it will. All right. I've got some interesting things bubbling up. Okay. This is fun. This is fun. Just when you think you know somebody, you start getting these
Trying to
new
keep on your
questions.
toes, Jen. You probably
Yeah.
knew the answers to lots of these questions. So
All right. So going back, another layer now. What are your fears in life today?
this one is not news to you. We've talked about it a lot. I am not a particularly anxious person. This is like my preview to my answer. I don't generally get easily stressed. I currently don't have a job and I'm not stressing about it. There's a lot to stress about, and I try not to think about the negative things. That being said, the one thing that truly gives me anxiety and is my biggest fear is the threat of climate change. I think is the most existential, pressing threat that humanity faces and will face for the next who knows how many years, decades, centuries. It's here, it's happening, and there's only so much that one person can do, and I think that's part of why it's a fear of mine. Is it's somewhat out of my control.
Yeah.
There is a lot that I can do, and that's how I've chosen to dedicate my career. I want to work for companies that are sustainability focused. I worked for an alternative protein company before it went under. I had a lot of experience actually at Accenture doing sustainability work before I left. It's what I'm continuing to look for now because it's my way, in addition to some of the small things that I do in my life, it's my way to feel like I'm making a difference and I'm doing something that's meaningful, and it helps sort of ease those anxieties. But yeah, I am very fearful of what is to come as it relates to the effects of climate change, and more than anything, how little I feel like as a society and as a humanity we seem to care about it. That's a broad statement. Obviously, there are pockets around the world, and even in the U.S. I mean, with the IRA, that was a huge step forward. But I think we need to be doing a lot more, and the fact that we're not is frustrating. So yeah, that's definitely my biggest fear.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a big one for sure. Is there anything that you would add to that?
I like need to take notes because I have a terrible memory. And my other biggest fear is getting Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
My grandma had Alzheimer's, so it's like not out of the question that I will get it. And I don't know, just the thought of like living such an incredible life and then getting to the end and not being able to remember it just like is so, oh, it makes me want to cry. Like
Yeah.
it's just such a heartbreaking. I saw my grandmother go through it and she had the most incredible life. She was so accomplished. And just seeing her at the end was really tough, and also seeing how it impacts the people around you. Like it was really hard on my dad for like his own mother not to recognize him. Like that's really hurtful and there's like nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
Hopefully by the time I'm that much older, like medicine will have, progressed long enough where it's like not as big of a concern, but yeah, not losing my memory and not being able to remember my loved ones and the amazing life that I lived is really terrifying.
Yeah. For sure. Do you have a habit of like journaling or yeah, like taking notes like we said? And
I do. I have a daily calendar that I write in. It's like my family makes a family calendar every year, and 2 or 3 years ago, I started like filling in the little day boxes with like just like notes of my day, like what did I do that I was like proud of, like sometimes use it half to like track like how, or like my workout routine, like did I work out this day, this day, this day. If something like fun happened, I like write down like trips that I go on and whatnot. And then I use that calendar to do monthly reflections every month and then annual
yeah.
reflections at the end of the year.
Oh my God. I
And it's
love that.
amazing to have like such a detailed account of like my life. So yeah, I love journaling. I love reflecting. I'm a huge reflector.
Huge reflector. You shine a light on Kate and it just bounces right back. Um,
It's because I'm such a
all right.
star.
Of course you are. Of course. All right. So I like that question because, yeah, it speaks to the fact that everybody is going through something. But when it comes to our successes in life, I believe that we are also not all that we appear to be. So this next question is, what's something that you're proud of that not a lot of people know about?
Yeah, I don't think you know this one. It's a throwback. It's from a time when I was really young, but it's something that my grandma constantly reminds me of. And I think everyone should view themselves the way their grandparents view them because they're like my absolute biggest fans and think that I like walk on water and can do no wrong. Um, and it's actually not unrelated from my biggest fear, which is interesting actually as I was thinking back on it. So, and when I was in elementary school, um, Hurricane Katrina happened,
Mm,
and I don't think I need to explain what that meant at the time. It was insane for everyone, and I was in California. I
hmm
didn't know anyone that was like in Louisiana or anything really.
hmm
Um, but for some reason, it hit me. I was so upset about what happened. And again, I think when people have fears or when they're upset, action is the thing that calms them. At least for me, one of the ways that I get through hard times. And so I recruited my best friend at the time and my twin sister, and we made T-shirts that we wore, and for an entire week we stood outside of my school during like morning drop off and had like a donation box that we were collecting for donations that we would send to victims of Katrina. And yeah, it was like the most random thing. I just like did it on my own, had the idea. I asked my parents for their like computer to print, to like make t-shirts, but it was really something that like I did on my own, of my
Yeah.
own accord. And we raised like, I don't know, a couple $100, and then my mom doubled it because she was like proud of what we had done. So it
Yeah.
wasn't even like a meaningful amount that we raised. That's not even the point of why I'm proud of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's just, at a really young age, I was, showing a lot of really important qualities that I value in myself now, being being a go-getter, being someone that's action-oriented, being, compassionate for others. That was the big thing that really hit me. And so yeah, I'm really proud of that. And no one really knows that about me. I don't talk about it ever because it happened long ago. But yeah, it's something that I always look fondly back on, and my grandparents constantly talk about it. So I never forget.
When you said it was related to your fear at first, and it was your childhood as well, I was thinking that you might have won like a, Queen of Recycling award when you were in first grade or something. But no, that was much better. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm way more proud of that than being Queen of Recycling.
That made me think of a topic of conversation that's come up for me a couple of times this week. A seminar that Brene Brown was giving and is on Netflix. Yeah.
Love her.
Yeah. I think it's called The Call to Courage.
Oh.
And in it, she said something along the lines of like, take a moment to commit to your feelings. And my brain just took that and immediately retooled it, thinking about like moments and the significance of moments and recording them. And I kind of had this realization. And that realization was, I don't trust people that don't take notes. I know people, I've seen people, and I know people who for example, I have class with them, and I've just never seen them take notes. I've had meetings with people in the workspace, and they just never take notes, but their recall is so impressive to the point where like I'm sold. I'm like, okay, you really don't need to take notes. I'm very impressed. But I finally have a way to articulate the significance of taking notes. I think it takes time to understand how our feelings mold into or become part of our identities. And so those are the things that I think people should be taking notes on. So their feelings. How are they feeling about things? As you talked about, being compassionate, for example, standing in front of people and getting to try to be part of the solution, I would venture to guess that you've had enough time to process the feeling of being compassionate and reflecting on that feeling, being able to just grow that into your identity and say, no, I was proud of being compassionate. That's the stuff that takes time. That's the stuff that we got to take a moment to commit to our feelings for. And I'm proud of you for having done that, even though it seems like such a small thing.
Thank you. Yeah, I think I mean, I'm proud of a lot in my life.
Sure.
I think it's really easy to be proud of accomplishments that are like obvious, like winning a race or getting good grades or whatever. But I think particularly because I was young at the time, and it was just such a random like gesture of compassion. I'm proud of it because it's so important, I think, like as a society, to be compassionate for one another. And the like with the rise of social media and whatnot, we're becoming more and more divided over time. And so I think it's just important to perpetuate love, compassion, these things that are important to me, to help others. And I think that's like something that I'm so much more proud of than any one thing that I've like accomplished in my life. Is like at the end of the day, like I just want to be a good person, help others, like have a positive impact on people's lives. Like that is the thing that I would be, super proud of. And it'll get to my ideal compliment in a minute.
Yeah, right.
But yeah.
All right. Well, we've taken a good lap around some of the deeper parts of life and some of the highs as well, reaching all the way back to your childhood. And when you look at where you're at now, I wonder if you'd be so kind to share some words of wisdom with us.
Words of wisdom. Attitude of gratitude. This is a recent, I mean, I try and live my life that way, generally speaking, but it's really helped me over the past month. For two reasons. One, my apartment almost burned down, and I lost my job. I've found that an attitude of gratitude is a great way to get through hard things, because when hard things happen, when they inevitably happen, it's really easy to focus on that negativity and how much it sucks and how hard it is. But we all have so much to be grateful for. Um, Being alive today, breathing this air is just something to be grateful for. You can be something as small as being able to eat today. You know, not everyone gets that. Having electricity, like there's just so many small things in this world to be grateful for. And I'm a firm believer that the more that you're grateful for things, the more things that there are to be grateful for.
Mm,
Um, and that's like a really easy, I guess it's like a coping mechanism for me, but it's a really, I hope, others can maybe use that wisdom and help it use it as a coping mechanism for them, because it's really effective. It makes you feel good when you think about all the things that you have to be grateful for.
yeah.
And it's a great way to get through hard times.
Do you ever have a hard time being grateful for the small things? Like, does it ever feel redundant or almost like maybe you're trying to fool yourself?
No, I don't think so. I mean, like it definitely shouldn't be a force. Like if you're not grateful for your family on a certain day because they're pissing you off because they're your family, they push your buttons, like don't be grateful for them. There's probably a million other things that you can and should be grateful for. So I'm never, I guess going back to being authentic, like I'm never not being true to myself, and so I'm not forcing it to just be grateful because I think it'll help me through it. Like really stopping, thinking, reflecting on the positive things. Um, there's always something to be positive of. Even in like the hardest day, like there is always at least one thing to be positive about and to be grateful for.
Adopting this mindset, especially over the last month, like you said, with the fire across the street, just, y'all, Kate showed me it, it is so close to her window. Oh
It's,
my goodness. It is so
it's
close.
20 feet away.
Anyways, that losing your job, kind of like recommitting, re-upping this attitude of gratitude. Have you noticed anything different about it now compared to before, where I feel as though, the Kate that I have known has always been a gracious person?
Over the last month or so, I've really learned that it is not just a positive thing to do during good times, but it's actually really helpful in hard times. I think that's the thing that I've really learned recently, is being able to apply an attitude of gratitude, um, to really get something out of it. Whereas before it was, just like a way that I lived my life, because I think it's important to be grateful. But yeah, it can really help. It can really be a tool that people can use. And it's
Really like that.
so easy. It's really so easy. And I think there's a great, again, podcast, because I love podcasts. There's a great podcast on from NPR called Life Kit, I think that's what it's called. And they have an
Okay.
episode on gratitude.
Yeah.
And it's great. And everyone should do it at least once a day.
Right on. I love that. I don't really think about gratitude as a tool. And I like that you call it that, because it 100% can be, no matter your circumstances. Okay, gonna move on to the last question. I have something marinating in the back of my head, but we're gonna move on to the last question for now. You know, this is my favorite question, and have witnessed me ask it to anybody that will listen. And I'm so excited for the world to get to hear your answer here today. That is this question: what is the best compliment that somebody could give you?
Yes, I love this question. I think it is incredibly telling, people's answers. So I can't wait for this podcast to come out and hear other people's answers, particularly for the people who I know, and the people that I don't. But yes, you asked me this question a year or so ago, maybe. And my answer, which remains true today, is that you are a good mom, or you're a great mom. Yeah, I think it's part of my purpose to be a mom. I think it's, from what I've heard just from my parents, from my mothers, from other mothers. It is like single-handedly the hardest and simultaneously the most rewarding job
Mm.
that someone can be, is being a parent. And I think it's going to be an incredible challenge, one that I'm not ready for yet, but looking forward to. And I think someone telling you that you're good at that you're good at the hardest thing that one can do, I think that is it says a lot. And I think that there's all of these like tackle on compliments that come with like being a good mom. You're so loving, you're supportive, you cherish, you provide, you know, you're such a good provider, you're a protector. Like there's so many like tackle on compliments that come with being a great mom,
Mm.
a great parent. For me, a mom, there's so many good qualities about being a good mom that I think if you say that, it's sort of all encompassing of
Yeah.
many qualities that I would like to emulate. But yeah, being able to pop out a little person and then raise it to be a good person, like that is the thing to be the most proud of, I think. And I'm excited to do it one day.
So I did get to ask Kate this question almost exactly a year ago. We were all hanging out with a group of friends over New Year's, and this is the question that I asked my friends because I'm strange like that. Happy New Year! What's your ideal compliment? um, but I missed something before, and maybe it's becoming clear here in these questions. Maybe that's why I came up with these questions. Give myself a little pat on the back there. Uh, but I remember thinking, and I still have been puzzled, maybe until this moment, like, how does she know that? Like, how does she know that she is ready for that? That she, like, that she's ready to hear that? Something that she's never been yet, never heard before in that role. How does she know that she wants to hear that? And today I now see how ready you are. I'd say the things that make me the most confident, and I'm just, at this point, reading back everything that you've shared today, is two of the core values that you shared, learning and love. The way that you learn feels to me like it is to enrich love, your understanding of it, how you can share it, how it shows up in different places in the world. And when it comes to your fears, it's quite fitting as well, because these are things that would take love away in their simplest forms, either physically from you or from your memory. But along the way, can't live in the fear of that one day coming. And to be your best self along the way is to have an attitude of gratitude. And that also makes a lot of sense for the person who wants to continue to live in a way that is enriching her understanding of love.
Love to learn to love.
Kate Chilton, everybody. We are honored to get to have her on today.
Thank you for having me. I'm honored to be your friend and to help with anything that you're doing, because I believe in what you're doing and the goal behind this podcast, which is the ultimate goal behind your app. So yeah.
Thank you. Okay, we have arrived. We are at that time for you to get to honor somebody else.
Yes.
So, do you know who you're going to be honoring today?
Yes.
Fantastic. Who is this person? Tell us a little bit about like the relationship.
Yes, it's my
Yeah.
best friend Rhea Serene. We met in college. We were in the same sorority, but we like to joke that we're sort of living parallel lives. We unknowingly grew up in the town next to each other, had, you know, friends of friends that like knew each other, sort of thing, didn't know each other, but then we both went to Michigan, joined the same sorority, both joined the business school, left, both joined Accenture, both moved to the East Coast. So yeah, so there's just a lot of similarities between us, and I think that we're living these sort of parallel lives.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is who I'm honoring.
Fantastic. All right. So, you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay. Right on. When you see the camera, go.
Rhea, I honor you for your strength. And the reason that I say that is because I have seen you overcome, one of the hardest things that anyone can go through, which is losing their mom, and in your case, your best friend. Through the course of the podcast that I've just recorded with Jin, we talked a lot about love and fears, and learning and all these tenets of life. And I think one of the epitomes of really living the human experience is experiencing grief. True loss of love is something that I have not yet experienced. And watching you go through it when you lost your mom and best friend at the time, very suddenly. It happened while we were in college, for those that don't know. That was seeing the depth that you went to, and then seeing you overcome it and overcome it every single day, because I know it's not something that you ever don't think about or that you're not living with every day, is so impressive. It's truly remarkable, and it's only something that I hope to emulate whenever I go through that experience, because I know I will have it at some point. I've been blessed to not have to go through it yet. But when I do, I'll definitely be thinking of you. I will turn to you for guidance and support, because you went through it with such grace. And it was truly remarkable. And you're a remarkable person. You're incredibly strong for experiencing what you had to go through and overcoming it, and continuing to overcome it every day. And so I honor you and I love you.
A special thanks to Kate for sharing her story with us on today's episode. It's always tricky for me bringing my friends on. I try to strike a balance between not oversharing, maybe something that I know about them, but then I also sometimes will cut corners and bring up references that people don't have context for. But I was grateful because Kate came on and she added context to help people follow along, and at the same time was unafraid to speak from the heart. A couple of things that I want to call out in this episode that stood out to me. First, it feels like Kate has this inner dialogue of good and evil. And good is represented by how intentional she is, and how she just wants to continue to enrich her understanding of the world, the people in it, and the life that they've experienced. On the other hand, the evil is the fear of forgetting, which I think a lot of us can relate to, right? I think a lot of us can relate to. Wait, what was I talking about again? No, I'm just kidding. But a lot of us can relate to not remembering what we had for a meal last week, part of a conversation with somebody last month. For her, she has a much more daunting fear, given she has a family history of a hereditary disease. But at the same time, it's really admirable how she's able to use that then as a motivator, constant reminder to be reflecting often, to get to continue to appreciate all that she has. Which leads me to my second thing. I've had a lot of conversations with people following my interview with Kate about using gratitude as a tool. I talked about it a little bit in the episode, but I've been wary of doing that because sometimes it feels inauthentic. But Kate countered that so simply that gratitude without authenticity is not helpful. Yeah, that was just really helpful for me to hear, and I've already gotten to share that with some of my friends and peers. There's one more thing that I'll add that I really enjoyed about this episode. Kate said that the entire reason that we fail is to learn and grow from life. Last week, somebody asked me, I thought that the only way to experience a deeper sense of love is after having gone through heartbreak. And I don't know the answer to that question. But something I'm chewing on now is, do we only feel as deeply as we are willing and able to confront losses and pain and wounds in life? I don't know. If you have any ideas or anything that you want to add about what you liked about this episode, let me know in the comments. But that's it for today's episode. Remember, there's never a bad time to reach out to somebody that you've been meaning to reconnect with. Thanks, guys. See you guys in the next one.